Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We'll be doing some half-page scenes today. Keeping it pretty simple, but let's see if anyone hasn't seen some of the finished pieces from last week's stamp sketches. I finished off a lot of these over this past week. This one I just added a little bit of highlighting and shadow work to this wood grain paper. I really like the look of the white pastel pencil in combination with the extra fine acrylic paint pen touches right in this area in here. I just used the pastel pencil and it was a little bit too soft looking, so we needed some crisp little highlights in here. Okay, now this one wasn't done in a stamp sketching video last week, but I like the look of the gold on gold here. White and gold on gold. I thought that gives it a really cool look. This is the piece that was done on the printable starry holographic vinyl sticker paper. And this one was finished off with some colored pencil and acrylic paint pens, plus a few of the extra little three-dimensional modelers leaves. Some of these leaves washed ashore from across the little cove area, I guess. Another piece, the half-page vertical piece here on, I think it was glossy photo paper. I mean, not glossy photo paper, glossy cardstock. It's either that or it was the semi-gloss. I think it's the glossy here. And a lot of shadow work in here, but then I've added some little color touches on top of some of these lily pads. I thought that was really fun looking. Warm tone brown for the cabin up here, and this one was finished up. Okay, now this one was the semi-gloss cardstock. Just different types of media within here, giving it some subtle shades of blues and greens throughout the piece, but a lot of the white pigment ink for mist in here. Fun stuff. So I want to just play around with some half-page scenes again, but I wanted this to go relatively fast. I haven't finished off this one yet. I haven't figured out what I want to do in here, but this one right here I need to format up into a card, but I just stamped that word silence in there. I really like just the look of this piece right here. So I wanted to use some more of the vintage papers and wood grain papers here, you know, because I want to see what these stamps look like in different types of compositional arrangements. Hello, Bugs and Patty. How are you? Hello, Linda. Hey, Linda. Good to see you again. How did you fix that chat function, Linda? Unless you were on like a probation from everyone flagging you for cussing in the live streams. Hello, Cynthia. All right. I'm just joking about Linda here if anyone's on. That's just watching. Okay, so let's see here. Let's start off with, let's go with this one right here, this vintage paper. So you can see what this vintage paper looks like, whole if you don't have any of this type of paper, but let's see, does it go like that, or is it like that, or is it the same? But the vintage papers, most of them have this little bit of a, this is the other side of this one, right? I think it is. I think it's like this. Okay, so most of them have a little bit of a vignette on them like that. Upper left and bottom right aren't too dark. I guess this one is right here. I mean, who knows? I just say the four corners are usually a little bit darker, giving it this kind of interior glow. So when you cut these in quarters, you know, you have this kind of off-balance tone like that. I mean, I utilize it because you can stamp out something in reverse in those darker areas. Maybe not so much on this one right here, but this one especially like this, you know, because the corners are relatively, you know, dark like that. But the half-page pieces kind of make a little bit more sense from a lighting perspective, or a balanced lighting perspective, I should say, than the quarter size ones, because then you only have one corner that's kind of darkened So that really influences my kind of lighting schemes when I chop these pieces down into fours. I think it's, let me see, like this. Is it like this? Yeah, it's like this. I see those little kind of ridges going in there like that. But anyways, this stuff is really fun stuff. So this right here looks like a nice horizon glow, you know, with the sky kind of darker up top like that. Hello, Megan Els. Hello, Cecile. All right, so let's test some of these out. Okay, so on the half-page scenes, those are going to be really good for, well, a lot of things. But when you're using some of these larger stamps, like these cabins are, if I want to have some kind of like, you know, opposing sides of like a little inlet or something like that, then the half-page card, or I don't know, just something long. It could be just a, you know, a slimline card that's not a half page, but I don't know, 8.5. I mean, that's a good dimension for that. Just so you don't have, you know, the opposing cabins like right next to each other, like they're right next to like a really small creek or something like that. All right, so I like the hybrid inks on these types of papers. You can try, you know, other types that'll, I'm sure, will work fine. This hybrid one really works, I find, really well because it's, you know, this paper is porous, but it is still more sealed off than your typical, you know, cardstock, because this is all printer's inks that's given it this vintage look. So it is coated with, I don't know how many colors they would have used on here. It's probably like, I don't know, what is that? Yellow and, I don't know, probably magenta and black. It's probably got at least 3 colors making it this tone right here. It's probably run through a 4-color press though. All right. Allowing that ink to transfer a little bit more on these pre-printed papers. Papers that are sealed off give it a little bit of extra time. Unless you're using stays-on ink, then less time. Because that stays on, every time it dries on there, it, like, you know, I don't think it's going to adhere to this one, but it adheres to a lot of those different types of papers out there. All right, so we have that, and we'll stamp their neighbor across the way here. It looks like I cleaned this off reasonably well, but this is the one that I used with the gold ink right here. Okay. This could be ocean or lake, whatever you want it to be, or whatever you want it to represent. Okay, I'm stamping this one a little bit higher because the cabins are a little bit slightly different scale. See this one right here? It's like closer to us than this one right here. So you want to stamp this one a little bit higher than this one, okay? If they're on the same page from one another. There's plenty of leeway. It's not like, oh my gosh, I was off by, you know, 1/8 of an inch or something like that. That's not going to matter. But if you stamp this lower, I don't know. It's, you know, it might look like a, I don't know, like a miniature or something like that. The chat suddenly appeared again. Huh. That's interesting. You didn't do anything, huh? Maybe you did get off probation, or whoever reported you for all that cussing. Maybe they investigated. All right. So see, there we go. It's like a little bit more distant, but see this one right here? From there to like down here, like you kind of measure off the base of these right here. So it goes up to right here. So that's like a 1/4 inch like that. Whatever 1/4 inch is internationally, I don't know, in centimeters. We started learning the metric system. I think we were going to ditch inches and go over to metric like in the 70s, and it's like, Forget about that, you know. We're just sticking with this. All right, so I really like the look of that, though. Those two in combination with one another. Okay, so I'm going to do a little horizon in there. Okay, so I'm just going to use the Seaside Cove small here. And I'm just going to use this top portion right here. Okay, and it'll just transition off. It'd be kind of interesting to use the Seaside Cove large right in this whole area right in here. But I'm not going to do that in this video, in the stream. All right, so I just kind of inked up right in here, and then what I'll do is I'll just remove some of the ink right in here. And we'll try to it's just going to be, I'm just kind of going for a little bit of that horizon line. The Seaside Cove, not really the small one, but the larger one's like 5 stamps in one or something like that. It's the smaller one though. It's like 2 stamps in one. I mean, you can use it for each side still, you know, left, right side, center, and this right here. I'm just using it for this top portion right here. I've seen it where people have stacked this and they've created like this little river coming down, like, you know, kind of a fast moving type of water scene. Bears on the side of the streams, you know, fallen logs, tree trunks, stuff like that. Now this is just going to end abruptly, but you know, I'm going to fill it in with some additional texturing down below, especially when I finish these pieces off. These are just kind of the stamp sketches right here. All right, that's like a really small area. Maybe I wiped off too much down here. I could have had a little bit more of that texturing in here. Maybe we'll do that here. I'll do that right here. You know, when I talked about that kind of layering. Here, let's go with some of this right here. I was being too conservative and I just removed like all of the image. Except for that very top portion right there. I want more of this image in there, but it'll serve as like a guide though still. Okay, so I'm removing now the whole kind of straight line right up here because I already have that on my horizon. And let me see here. Let's see, I don't want these rocks here in the shoreline here. Let's see, it's going around this way. Okay, so I just want a hint of this again. Not that small of a hint, but we'll go with a little bit more here. Okay, let's see. Okay, I don't want any of that there, so let's do this. We'll have that creeping around the bend a little bit. Let me see. Let me get my bearings here. That's inked up to about right here. Okay. So go down about like this right here. I hope I took it off, removed it in the right area. I've been looking at things in reverse for all of my adult life, but it still gets a little bit confusing at times. All right, that looks pretty good right there. I almost want to add more of that in here. That looks pretty good. Huh. I'm going to keep adding to it. Okay, so I'm going to do that thing that they, you know, that I was just kind of explaining where I've seen people do it, where they just stack it, okay? All right, now I just don't want these bottom rocks in here, and I don't necessarily want that top horizon line in there. But some more of this other kind of wavy texturing in here. That's what we're going for in here. I don't have to have these match up exactly. That's not what I'm really going for in here. Let's go like this. And let's see, let's hit it a little bit more. I was thinking that's going to be in shadow anyway, so maybe I wouldn't do that, but let's do it anyway. I want to ink up this whole thing, so my instinct is just to ink up the whole thing, but I'm just, again, I'm going for this little center area. I usually do this with the larger Seaside Cove and not really the smaller one, but I think the smaller one fits the scale of these cabins a little bit more. Okay, let's see. That, and I wonder if I can get a second impression out of this. I shouldn't go for the second impression because that part is not going to stamp out very dark at all. But yeah, it's not too bad right down there. I got this little blank area right in here. That would be a perfect little spotlit area for my little what do you call those? Paddle boarders. I'm so used to saying kayakers when stamping out my scenes here. All right, now this area right here, I think I'm going to put a big old full moon right there. Okay, now this right here, if I wanted to, I could just stamp in some extra texturing in there with some more of this. Or I do have the water pattern stamp like that, and you can just stamp it right in there. In fact, maybe over here for the side, just to give myself a little bit of a head start when I start doing some shading and light work in here when I finish this piece off. I'll use my water pattern small and then just come into it like this. Let me see. I'm going to wipe off the edges of this a little bit because this is a thicker ink that I'm using. And I'll just come into it like this. Not really stamping this out kind of traditionally, like going for like clean impressions like that, but just kind of tapping it repeatedly into this area right here. This area right in here is going to get toned in with like a black colored pencil, and it's getting a little blotchy there. Maybe I'll do a little bit less, but this will give me a little bit of a head start just so I don't have to do as much shading later on. And plus this gives it a little bit more of a textured shading. Let's see, let me come in here a little bit too. Okay. Something like that. All right. And okay, I did something too on this. I cut out a couple of these templates that'll fit my moons like that. And I thought, see, if I want to add in some white pigment ink like that and then stamp my moon over the top of it, that would give my moons, I don't know, perfect little, or, you know, a circle to stamp my moon over the top of. So let's give that a try here. All right, this is the first time I've tried this, so let's see if it'll work out. My thing is this, it's stamping the moon over the top of that without using a stamp positioner. But I thought, I don't have to use the edge of this moon. I can just kind of wipe that off and just stamp in this, you know, the texturing, the moon, you know, the craters and everything like that into the piece. Okay, this is going to look a little bit odd before, you know, because I'm not going to have any kind of highlighting in the rest of the scene like that to match this white here from the moon. So, but let's see, I need one more thing right here on the horizon. Okay, so there's the horizon for the moon, right? For the scene right here, that water right there. Okay, so I'm going to block that off. And I'm going to have this gigantic moon kind of rising from the horizon like that. And behind these trees, we'll do it like so. Let me see. Actually, let's scratch that. See this kayak or this paddle boarder right here? Yeah, they're paddle boarding at night, you know. But I think that would be pretty cool. But see, they're kind of going in this direction. Well, let me see. Is she looking over to her that way? She's going like straight ahead. I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'll put it right over there. See, I'm kind of creating this thing right here where you're going from this to this and this. So you're kind of doing this type of motion like that. And then the paddle board is going to be right down here. So you're going to go like this in terms of a visual path probably. And the interiors of these cabin windows here are going to be illuminated. So you're kind of going from light to light. So this area right down here is a little bit spotlit. You know, because it's lighter, it just didn't stamp out right there. And then we'll have our lighting from these cabins going to that moon like that. So it's that little visual path, you know. You see yourselves, I've mentioned this before in some videos, but you can see yourself as kind of like a, whatever. I wouldn't call it a roller coaster designer or something like that. But you're creating these visual paths, you know, for a person to kind of follow a little bit. I mean, chances are if they look at this scene from a distance, you know, right away, they're probably going to look at the moon first, but then maybe they'll travel down or, you know, with additional viewings, they would probably, you know, get locked into a certain kind of sequence in which someone looks at something, you know, and, you know, their eye travels. And it all happens like within probably like a second or something like that. But again, if you can kind of create an interesting visual path for people, you know, it's just a, I don't know, whatever, a funner ride, visual, you know, momentary ride like that. Be kind of interesting. So I've been doing that experiments with the glow-in-the-dark acrylic paint. I guess you can lay something like this down and do like an acrylic paint back there too, you know, if you want to make this glow-in-the-dark. The one thing about it though, I find that one coat with the acrylic paint, it's not very luminous. It doesn't hold a lot of ink, you know, that retention, light retention, and you have to go over it like a, I don't know, I'd say a good 3 or 4 times. It depends how thick your coats are, of course, but um, it might be interesting though. Okay. Okay, that's not opaque enough at all. Okay, let's go a little bit thicker right here. This paper that I'm using is kind of, it's not very dark, so that white paint didn't have very much contrast on there, so I usually don't go this thick with it. Okay, I'm gonna have to let this one dry a little bit with how thick it is right here. All right, so that stands out much, much better. And then when that dries, it's going to get a little bit darker. So all this in here is going to get a little bit illuminated. There's going to be some mist or something like that down in there. And then I'll darken in this horizon line a little bit to create more of a separation between land and sky. Make it a little bit darker this way. It'll be really fast, you know, just using a colored pencil. All right, let's see here. Oh, you're here in the beginning, Megan Els. Or is it just Megan? Is Els like another part of your name? I'm just saying your whole YouTube name there. All right, let's see. Got to get her standing up straight. And then when I line this up, I'm usually lining up the base of this with somewhere. It doesn't have to be lined up exactly, but as long as I have it kind of roughly in place. I think she'll look pretty cool right in that little spot like that. Now you can do this like in a, if I did that in yellow, I would probably lay down white like that. And then you can lay down other colors on top of it. Maybe do a split screen where it's like reddish tinge and then yellow if you want to make that like a gigantic sunset or something like that too. But I think probably laying down the white as a base layer before the other colors. And I'd do the other colors, I'd probably do it in you'd have to do it, I think you'd have to do it in pigment ink as well, you know, right over the top of that. I think if you tried to put any other color or if you tried to, you know, use colored penciler and something like that, it might remove, you know, that white on there. I'm not sure. Okay, allow for that transfer. Hello, Bonnie. Hello, military mom. Yeah, okay, Megan. I thought about that later. I thought, her name is probably just Megan, you know. Okay, there we go, like that. Yeah, looks like she's looking at the moon to me, you know, from that direction. I think you could put it anywhere though, you know, and it could be whatever direction. All right, so I think that looks pretty good though, like that, in terms of a composition. Let's add on a little bit of a foreground here. I think I want to go for something reasonably bold right here on the corners, right here. I think it'll frame off the scene a little bit more. Oh, okay, maybe. And okay, so I usually put something on the corners like this, but let's make it where we're traveling in here even more so. Remember that whole kind of visual path like this where we're going to go in like around this bend like this? Let's cut off the corner like here a little bit more to emphasize this kind of left side entryway into the scene. And, you know, we're doing this little kind of S curve in here. All right. Let's use some of these rocks again from this. Okay, now you don't have to plan out these types of things, by the way. You know, when I'm talking about these things like visual paths and everything like that, I'm just kind of tweaking things after I get into it. It's not like I think it's necessary or anything. It's like it's just one of those little minor tweaks where you can have it in there or not, you know, and it'll look fine with or without it. Like if I just kind of frame this off like this, I think that would look fine too. But if there's something that I see that I don't know can emphasize some little subtle thing a little bit more, then I'm adding it in as I'm going. But it's not something that's like terribly important to me, like when I'm starting off a scene. I'm just starting off big, you know. I knew I was going to do these two cabins on opposing sides of some, you know, little cove or something like that. And that was it. And then I knew, I figured I'd put a horizon line behind them, but that, you know, that's, you know, that was the end of my concept down here, you know, besides the pre-printed paper and ink that I was going to use. So these are all kind of just, these are all filler images. So it's like, you know, foundation things, filler stamps, you know, and that's it as far as the concept goes. Okay, let's see. Let me put a couple, here. I'm gonna do a little bit more here. I really feel like stamping it out there to, you know, close in that other area, but yeah, let's just go with that right there. I can come in here with a taller pine tree too, but I think I'm going to keep it kind of lower in here. my foreground stuff. If I did it again, you know, it might look completely different. I might put stuff on each side just, you know, for variation. All right, see something like that. And again, I'm kind of really tempted to put something out here, but it really kind of emphasizes this kind of motion right here. I think, you know, a little bit more so than, you know, if it wasn't in there. Let's see, let's add a little bit of texturing, I think, here. Some additional rocks in here. It does look more like a sunset though, doesn't it? Than a moonrise. This is a perfect spot right up here for some kind of quote stamp too, I think, in this type of scene right here. I think it's reasonably evocative. You know, someone going out, you know, and paddling around at you know, at nighttime. All right, so is this going to be dry enough on here? And it's still really wet. I'll go, that's a really thick slathering of that white pigment ink on there. But I think the lighting on this one will be, I think this scene right here will be reasonably dramatic with that big orb like that kind of rising up from the background like that. Let me see, I'm going to remove some of it off of these trees just a touch. I want a little bit on there where that lighting is influencing those trees, but let's get a little bit of that off of there. Hot it is, 83. It was really warm here, but it was like in the upper 60s. But I was telling my son, it felt like, oops, I shouldn't have stamped on that. I need to keep these ones for my little templates. That's my 1-inch hole punch. That's the small full moon. That's the large full moon. Yeah, I want to keep that one piece. Okay, so that is that. That is my, I'm trying to think if I want anything else in here. I have that other panel border, and they could be in here too. I think it's better if I just have the one on here. It's a little bit more, I don't know. There's a different mood to it, I think, with one. Okay, so that is that. Let's try another one of these cabins, you know, opposite cabins like that. You can even do, if you want to, you can go like this and go cabin here, and cabin up here. Now what you're doing is you're kind of playing around with scale a little bit. You're kind of not adhering to perspective, okay? And I think that's fun to do on scenes. We were doing that on these things we were calling the monster maps, where it's more like a map of like an amusement park or something like that, where you're not, you know what I mean? You're not bound by whatever perspective, convention, Western perspective, they call it. Okay, and that might be kind of cool if I did a cabin here, cabin right here. And then sometimes it's fun because you add in these text things down in these areas. You get write like, you know, different layers of text. You can play around with something like that. And that might be kind of cool too. But let's see here. We have this nice glow on this one. It's a stronger glow. I'm always bothered by that little dot right there that they have on this paper. Because if you're printing something out against this too, I mean, you don't want something so obtrusive like that on your paper, because You know, this is like for printing out like documents or whatever you want on there, and it's really going to interfere with. I just remembered something else that I wanted in here. I wanted that little sailboat on a scene like this. Let's do that too. All right, let's see here. Test print. I wanted to get my bearings on how heavy to how much pressure to apply, because this is a really small stamp. Okay, I'm gonna adjust my shadow underneath my sailboat just a little bit. I don't want it that heavy down there. Okay. And this is probably not going to stamp into that white pigment ink quite as, you know, well as it is the bare paper, but we'll see. Yeah, see right across that moon up there, it's a little bit, or it's quite a bit. I'd say it's like a 20% lighter value than the black down here, maybe 15% or something like that. So it's a little bit more gray up here, but I still think that looks pretty good right there. Yeah, I wanted to see what that sailboat looked like in there too. I forgot about that part, but it looks like she's looking at the sailboat too. You know, it's like a. See, all these things are like visual lead-ins. They're all kind of leaning like, look that way, you know. So it's like we're looking in here, we're looking where she's looking. So it's like a little corridor here for this area right in here. It's kind of funny because she would normally be the focal point in the scene, but now I think it's that right there because she's looking at that like it's a stage up there. All right, so let's see. Let's see. I did my name a while ago and don't know how to fix it. You can create as many accounts as you want on YouTube. And I think, is YouTube, do you sign in? Is it Google? I forgot what account you want, but you can always create, you can create as, you know, however many you want. But now we know you as, you know, Megan L's. Or you can create a account that's like Megan watching Stampscapes live for when you watch this one. Everyone create like 100 YouTube accounts and all subscribe. All of them subscribe to this channel. Okay. Yeah, I really like that stamp sketch there. All right, I feel like finishing that one, but you know, I'm working on stamp sketches right now, so let's get on to some other compositions right here. All right, so I wanted to test out more of these Okay, let's switch over to the wood grained, and then maybe one more piece on this really darker one. I like this kind of horizon glow right here for these water scenes especially. I like it for everything, but on the water, I don't know, it seems especially cool. But again, we got to work around that one and cover it up something. All right, so on your wood grain paper, and I am influenced by this a little bit. Okay, so this area, this little knot right here in the wood, I mean, it could be down here, like if this is water, and that would be cool, but I kind of like that up here in the sky a little bit more, so I'm going to stamp this one top and bottom like that. You know, it's wherever you. I have a feeling that if I put this down in my water area, it's probably going to get covered up a little bit more. Which, you know, if it's a like this kind of this patterning that's going to be obtrusive and you want to de-emphasize it a little bit, then put it in an area where you're going to stamp more imagery across it, okay? But I kind of like that as far as the texture up there because I think it looks kind of like clouds or something like that. And so we'll do it this way. And again, I like the hybrid ink on this. But again, you know, there's a lot of different inks. I found this. I forgot that I did this. Now, this isn't indicative of the Clair. My Clair was really dry, okay? But this is the Brilliance right here, and that works really good too. It's a little bit more surface oriented, but look how good the StazOn is on here. It was really quite dark. My dye-based ink, you know, just your standard water-based inks, that one, you know, it works by staining, and I find that this paper was a little bit more resistant to the staining of the dyes. And this is before I forgot, I totally forgot about my hybrid pad, but I thought the hybrid pad was a pretty good combination of these two right here. But, you know, the StazOn is probably a little bit darker. Okay, well, this is on a different paper here, but I don't know. We'll do a comparison right here. Let's try, okay, let's see. Okay, let's see here. So we did this the other day, but what we did was we put this left side and we put this right side, and we kind of paired these up together on a scene. Like this, which you can do. Well, that'd be kind of cool to do this, and then have another cabin down here, like across the way. If you want to work really big, or you want to work really kind of narrow and long in a, you know, super long slim line or something like that. But let's do this right here again. Okay, so this one's a little bit larger than this one, so this one's going to be stamped up a little bit higher. Kind of. Actually, that looks like it's in scale right there because the cabin itself is higher up on the image. All right, if you're new to this channel, this is like the first time I've used some of these stamps and some of these different combinations right here. These are really new images. So playing around with the composition shape. Let's leave this, let's create a little bit more of a foreground, like a closer foreground. These ones I stamped kind of midway up, but let's stamp these ones a little bit higher up so I can stamp more of the foreground type of imagery in this one. Okay, but I still want that as a little bit of sky though. I did just re-ink this pad too, so it's nice and, you know, juicy. Don't over-ink some pads though, because you might lose some of the details in the tighter, you know, condensed areas of detail. Okay, so get enough on there where it's going to be stamping out cleanly on these types of pre-printed papers, but not so much that it's going to, you know, get blobby in certain areas. Okay, oh wait, sorry, Megan, do you like using the acrylic block stamps better than the red rubber wood block stamps? Are you talking about like these? Right here, just standard wood mounted stamps. The answer to that would be, I don't know. I don't even think about it in terms of a preference. If I have something in wood mounted form, I tend to be grabbing for that one first. If it's the exact same stamp, and I don't know, just the reason for that, I don't know, because I already have it, and I don't know. It's just kind of convenient for me rather than kind of going in. Like, I went and got this water pattern stamp, but I was looking around for my wood mounted version of it. Oh, there it is. Okay, I couldn't find it in my trays. It's because I haven't put it away yet. But I don't know. I just have my sets of stamps just in a big pile. So, I have to go kind of shuffling through it a little bit. And sometimes when I use the wood block just for these videos, people can see, what the, that image is a little bit more. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess I guess it really, to me, it doesn't really matter too much. I've been using both of them for such a long time. Maybe in the beginning, um, I probably liked using the wood a little bit more. I don't know, there's something to kind of this, natural forms like this. And there's a certain kind of aesthetic to handling kind of a wood block like this. But, it's a dedicated wood block, and the as far as like convenience goes, you're using like one or two of these blocks for a bunch of different things. Yeah, I mean, I could stamp out everything on here using this one block. I wouldn't want to use like that tiny owl, in a block this big, but I could. So I don't know. My preference, it's a little bit middle of the road. Okay, let's go this one right here. We'll just go. I'm gonna close in my space between these objects right here, and they'll have like a more kind of narrow space in between the two, just because I can stamp out more of the image on here. I need to use these with my things like Rocky Peaks too, or the Tall Peak. It would go really good with the imagery in the background. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do like a taller, like slimline one where we go and put some mountains in the background. This would be really good with the like the explorer image or something like that, or some backpackers in the foreground. All right, so we have that. See, it's like we all have our kind of existing kind of water imagery here that we don't have to, don't really have to add anything more for that kind of natural, kind of watery statement in there, patterning. Or is that you in the picture, Megan? You can be transport. I'll write that on the side of this little paddle board. The Megan 1. All right, let's see here. Let's create a little bit of a shoreline right here with some rocks. I'm trying to think if I want something on top of this rock looking over at those cabins. I haven't used like I haven't used a lot of things with these images yet because, I just got them in. So last week. So I'm getting a lot of questions over this last week. Hey, have you, where, where in transit are the stamps? I haven't got them yet. That was like on a Tuesday or something like that. I got a bunch of inquiries with the tracking. I don't know. Sometimes the tracking they don't track like the first couple stages or something like that. But on Tuesday, if I shipped out on Friday and Saturday, it was only like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 business days in transit. But that's what we want, right? We want people like eager to get their stuff. It's like, hey, where's the stuff? I told someone, hey, Well, someone was looking for their stuff, and they said, "Hey, it's I didn't get it yet," and the tracking showed it was in their mailbox. And but like I said, the opposite side of that is someone that doesn't care about receiving their stuff or not. We want them eager, you know, we want people eager to get their stamps. So. All right. So, anyways, here's some rocks in here again. Let's do something. Let's create this little bit of a extra inlet here. Let me go back to those kind of newer rocks too. I use these all the time from the desert set. I didn't know I'd be using these just quite so much, but I seem to be doing it all the time here. I really like it down in the reflection cards too. Adding these rocks like this with this kind of open area in there, I'm not sure what I'll put in that back open area. But it makes me think of it like a little bit of a larger body of water here, a little bit. Like, I don't know, Seattle or something like that. Especially if we put some big mountains in the background. What is it, the Cascades or something? Okay, here's some other rocks right here, the smaller version. Looking at this kind of scenario right here, I don't think I've done, I might have, I don't remember doing it, but the watermill stamp with this wood grain paper with like these rocks like that, like if I put that watermill right in here, I think that would look really good with this type of wood grain paper. That wood grain paper to me, it has like this, or the vintage one. I don't know, the wood grain, I don't know. The vintage one would look really cool too, I think, just in terms of a little bit more of an aged looking type of scenario. But all right, so a little bit of this foreground right here. Let's see. Okay, so let's go with, maybe I filled in that foreground more than I thought I would. Okay, so I want to go with some of these lilies in here. So we'll go with this. Yeah, we'll go with the smaller one here. Let's see. Hello, Craft my cat. Foam back rather than stamps on blocks with cushion. On my new stamps, the new sets, I just use my cling foam ones. It's just for ease, I'm not looking around in my folder for the different stamps, so I just use the cling versions of them. Like with the Mystic line, the individual lines, I don't bother mounting them on cling for usage. So I have them just kind of loose like this. But the sets I have manufactured by the same guy that makes my, all of my rubber. So it's just easier for me to, because I know what's on the set. So if I'm just, if I'm, I want to use that koi stamp and it's, a few months from now, I know that it's on, I'll know what nature set that it's on. So it's really just for convenience sake. me check out something here. Is that? The lilies can be used in either way. I just used it like this, but I'm flipping it around and I'll put it like this too. Okay, I need to leave some space for those little fish swimming around in there too. All right. I don't want to like totally block everything out. And with these rocks right here, I'm not putting in the larger lilies, I don't think. I'm going to go with just the smaller ones. And then, let's see. Let's have... I don't need these fish to be much of a focal point. You know, it's like those little desert creatures. They're just kind of like hidden in here. I'm going to put some, you know, some reeds or something like this around in here too. I keep saying this. I can't, you know, I can't wait to play around with some of this foreground type of stuff with the mystic line of imagery. And then in the reflection cards, you know, like this little scenario right down here in a reflection card, you know, where it's mirrored and something's reflecting into that mirrored area right in here. But this area in the foreground, you really you can't see a lot of the reflected objects from the top portion of those cards. So these little things like this will make that bottom area, I think, a little bit more interesting. Just with some additional imagery to kind of look at. Okay, let's see. I'm thinking right in here, maybe. Yeah, there's a little bit of a larger fish right there. If I was doing like some little, you know, some kid's birthday card and I was doing like a lakeside scene and if I had those fish, one of those little things that I would probably do just for kicks. It's not really for them, you know, that they notice it, but I would do like, if it's like their 10th birthday, I would do like 10 fish, you know, in the water or something like that. All right, let's go with some of these more of these textures in here. And it's just kind of this little texturing here with the tiny rock small. It kind of unifies things. Okay, so I'm doing it around here, and then I'll use it around my midground. It's kind of a midground, foreground rock area like this, okay? So if you're doing, you can do this with anything. If this is all grass in here, you can unify things with things like this. Grassy texture like this, you can unify it with some additional water texture like this. And this one right here, I see the wood grain as kind of already some existing texture down here, so I don't really feel the need to, when I'm using these, this type of paper in a water situation, I find that I don't add a lot of extra textures in here because we already have this existing texture in here that looks great, you know, that wood grain in there. So I tend to leave it a little bit more minimal, and I think that's a really good use of the wood grain paper. All right, so anyway, just something like that. Okay, it's a little bit busy with all that texturing in here, but remember, I'm going to bring in some additional shadow work in here, and that will decrease the contrast between the, you know, this little rock texture in here and the background, because I'm going to create this shadow in here. Okay, so it'll be a little bit more integrated in there and not so, you know what I mean, textural in there. It'll be minimal in some areas, okay, or minimized in terms of like that contrast right in here, like this area in here will get a little bit darker. All right, so here's another one. I'm going to leave this one open. This one, I don't leave room for like larger quotes. I mean, if you're going to put a quote in there, you should probably think about it ahead of time if it's a larger one. But there's this one about what a lake is. A lake is, I don't know, and it goes into something. But I think it's like that size right there. All right, and I'd pop it right on inside right there. So word stamps, quote stamps, they tend to be like a really strong visual focal point because everyone's going to read it, you know, especially the first time they see it. So they might not read it in ensuing viewings of the card because they've already read it and they know what it says. But as far as an initial impact, I think a word stamp has as much visual pull as something like this, you know, gigantic moon in the sky like that. So, all right. So, anyways, another piece like this. Oh, I forgot about the. Okay, so let's not add too much. Let me just go with the reeds again. The reeds are kind of minimal in terms of laying something down in there that's kind of spindly. Now this is going to look even busier, but again, I'll darken and, I'll create my own little kind of vignette here on the corners, I don't know about the upper corners, lower corners for sure. All right, so there we go like that. And you still have a lot of that texturing up there in the sky that's still exposed and kind of readable. So here's our first two half-page stamp sketches with the cabins, used in conjunction with one another. Let me see. Let me catch up with what's been typed out here. Yeah, that one's going to take a little time to get to you, Linda, in terms of your shipment there. Yeah, the wood blocks, so yeah. So we are making like all wood block stamps. I mean, we still make them if someone wants them up to a certain code number, but I still, like I said, if I have something in wood mounted form, like these ones are on another stamp set too, but and they're the exact same size as the one on the stamp set. I think they might be reduced slightly, but for the most part. But I still like using my wood stamps. There's something kind of, I don't know, kinesthetic about it. Natural things like that. They're nice in the hand, I find. But, like I said, I'm pretty used to all of the different incarnations at this point in time. Except clear stamps. I haven't used clear stamps, I'm trying to think. I've used them as samples that clear stamp companies have sent to me before. Not of my stamps, but of other stamps. And I think that they're fine as long as there's not a lot of solid areas, but that's what those positioners are for, so you can stamp and stamp and stamp and stamp. And I was thinking the other day, I think that's why like people just don't use glossy cardstock as much anymore these days, unless you've been stamping for a while. It was like a lost thing because any paper that's kind of more sealed off, it's not going to accept the ink off of clear stamps as much because it's kind of puddling up on solid areas of clear stamps. So you need a high, moisture absorption type of surface, which is like matte cardstock, matte papers that are going to absorb a lot more. But yeah, so people that have just started stamping and only use clear stamps, a lot of times they haven't used glossy cardstock at all, where everyone is using glossy cardstock. I'd say 20 years and back. you know, if not 15 years in back or something like that. They use matte too, but they also use glossy, and you know, because everything was rubber at that point in time. All right, so let's see here. Let's try a different format here. Let's go vertical like that. I wanted to do another glow. That's a really strong glow right here, though, isn't it? Let's go night on this one. And do... Okay, this one's going to be similar to this one, but it'll be a little bit stronger, I think. And I want to do that girl on the dock watching the moon. It could be watching the moon set, or it could be she could be watching the moon rise. Is one of them a different kind of a... We'll do a survey and ask people, do you see the moon as kind of rising or is it setting, you know? And then we'll analyze accordingly. Is that Rorschach? Rorschach, you know, tests. All right, let's see. Let's go. Yeah, let's go right here. I feel like I'm stamping over. Am I stamping over something underneath this? Something feels out of balance here. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so a darker area, so my lighting, interior lighting on this cabin is going to be a lot more extreme, you know, than something like this. This right here, I don't know if I almost don't even need to add in any of that pigment ink in there. It already looks really illuminated. This one I'm kind of starting to think that maybe I should try some of that. I don't know, lay down some inks on this to make it look more like a sun. I don't even know. I have yellow pigment ink. I don't have a lot of different colors of pigment ink. Oh, I have those hybrid inks. I might turn that one into like a sunset. That sure looks like a sunset scene to me. Especially with the paddle boarder out there and, you know, just their swimsuit. But that, I don't know. I did that with the size of the moon, though. Okay, let me see here. Starting off with these papers like this, you get that instant background glow. You don't have to create it yourself, you know. So if you're in a hurry, you can practically just stamp out the imagery and just leave it at that. I like doing my extra shading and highlighting on there because, I mean, I have a lot of fun doing that, okay? But, you know, you really don't have to. Now, on this one, I don't know, these ones are going to be a little bit dark, so... let me put this one, I'm going to put this one almost completely in here, like that. It could be like this whole like island to itself or something, practically. Big box stores, that's all that's out there these days. You know, there's a few stores. If you have a local store around you, treat that place like gold, you know, because there are so few rubber stamping or scrapbooking stores, like independent stores. There's still some out there, though. All right, now this one, I would definitely put in that little interior lighting in there. You know, like this right here. This is like the scenario that I'm doing right here, but I'm just doing it. Oh yeah, I put her head is right over that dot. I just remembered. So maybe that's where she's going on this one too. I don't know. So we just have a little bit more breathing space in this one. Now this one definitely looks, it's not going to be turned into a nighttime type of, scenario here. I mean, a daytime type of scenario. I don't think, not with this kind of darker area around here. Oh, Patty, did you miss that first piece? The first piece right here, we just added in. This one has a lot of texturing in here, which is going to be fun because when I have all this extra texturing in here, it gives me extra opportunity for more like sparkly light, with my pens, to add in here over the crest of these waves. It's a little bit more rippled, okay? And this one I just kind of left it more as is with the wood grain right here. So I don't put like a whole lot of like texturing and dots in here using this type of pen. I mean, there might be some in here, but it's so smooth in here. And it's already pre-lit. So I don't, I typically don't do as much to that type of paper. That type of textured pattern paper like that, I should say. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, her head. So that's like a designated head space right here. Let's stamp her in there because we know that she's going to go in there, and then we'll work around that. Her location in here. We'll build this out a little bit more. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll use some pine trees in here. As long as it doesn't cover up too much of the other objects. Yeah. Okay. So this would be a good chance for me to play around with other imagery too, in conjunction with the new ones. Okay, let me see if she can even reach up there. I think of that last scene that I did. I had to stamp this up a little bit higher so there was this gap in between that. This image right here, the bottom of the little dock right here. And, well, here, let me just see how this looks here. And I'll show you what I mean here. It's a good thing her head is fairly solid in silhouette. Sorry about my head getting in your way. I just want to make sure that I'm covering up that dot, and the dot's not going to be out to the side of her head like like some kind of growth. Okay, we want these foreground images to be nice and dark, and this is a darker, vintage paper right here, so I'm going to hold it down a little bit longer to allow that ink to start to set up a little bit and transfer. Hello, Laura. You and Patty with the moving stuff, huh? You're both moving north. Hello, Jennifer. Color box chalk, okay. You never use glossy, huh, Candy? I got a little of that out to the side, but I don't think that looks too bad. I'll blank that out or something like that. There, solved. That was just a ball roller pen. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about right here. See this right here? This little gap right here? So I'm just going to cut, I don't know, it's like a 1/16 of an inch or something like that off the bottom. If I really want to, I don't really have to, but, might as well. It takes like a second to trim that up. Okay, let me put some other... Okay, now here's an example. I have this on, the Pines and Rocks on wood block stamp, but you know, the set was just right behind me, so I'm just going to grab for that one. All right, now this one, these right here, this tree right here has a lot of surface area, so it's a good thing that I re-inked this black pad, but I'll really want to transfer that ink onto the surface well. So let's try this right here. Let's try the new imagery with some larger foreground imagery. I've been largely, you know, just keeping to the elements that are within the set so far, but let's go with this right here. Okay, so this is going to be like some really close foreground imagery in here, pushing depth. Color box chalk. That's interesting, Candy. Color box chalk specifically. You didn't even use like the color box. What is that? Just color box pigmentings, but it was specifically the color box chalk, huh? If you get water on dye inks, they smudged. Oh yeah, right. I couldn't send a card like that. Yeah, but no one's like getting water, you know, that receives your card though. I wouldn't think they're gonna be water damaged though. But all you'd have to do is just spray them off anyways. The one thing that someone, I don't know, if someone's handling a card and, you know, if their fingers were really oily or something like that. But again, you know, I don't know if that's going to happen unless you're sending it to a kid. All right, there we go. It's not too bad. It's a little bit less dark than I'd want, but that's about how, you know, how dark this ink gets here. See, Dee Grunig kind of set, she set a lot of the tone for stamping and color blending with Marvy markers back in the late 80s and really throughout the 90s, especially with the early 90s, I would say. Well, even more than that. I don't know. She was on that Carol Duvall show a lot through the 90s, I think. I don't know if it was completely through the 90s or if it was mid to late 90s or something like that, but it was always doing that. But so when you'd go to shows, oftentimes people were all demonstrating with the Marvy markers. It was either Marvy markers, Tombows, or La Plumes. And it was mostly Marvy, and you know, to get the most amount of impact. I'm trying to remember some different demonstrations going on. They were coloring. If they were coloring, it was all with Marvy markers, glossy cardstocks, and if it wasn't that, it was like a embossing demonstration or make and take, and then there were glitters too. I don't remember too many of the glitter make and takes that people had, but I saw the effect of the glitter because it got over everything. You know, people were walking around just, you know, covered in glitter. It was like a glitter migration. You came back from shows, and I didn't use glitter, but I was like had it all over myself. You'd be going out to dinner with glitter, you know. Everyone's going out to dinner after shows with glitter all over themselves. Part of the show going experience and fun of it, though. But I thought I kind of looked ridiculous with glitter on, you know, some guy. Women, you can get away with it, you know. They actually have like body glitters, right, Linda? All right, so kind of setting this, I think that looks, these trees in here, I think look pretty good with this. All right, so there we go, like that. This could be like a meadow in here. You can fill in here with, you know, your grass textures or something like that too. But I think that I really like that as just a body of water. Let's do. a moon in here. I do like to create some sort of focal point in terms of lighting in my pieces on these wood grain papers. I think that looks good as is, but I just think that having some other light source in here, I like the look of it better. Okay, so okay, now right up here. Oftentimes the location for like a good quote stamp is the place that I think is a good location for like a lighting source to like a moon or a sun or something like that. So I'm trying to think if I want like a word. I think this would look better with a moon up here, right over here. I'm thinking about the smaller one. The larger one would be cool in here too. I think it's really evocative, but you know, we just did this one, so let's. Did I just throw out my moon template? Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, let's go with this right up here. I'm gonna go with this one. And there's just a big bang. Let's see, let's go. That moon rising though. If I had it coming right here. It's almost too centered though. It's like right in the middle of the page, you know? And I usually don't like that. I guess if it's just kind of peeking over this though. I don't know if I can resist that. That rising thing looks really dramatic right there. I think I'm going to just do this. Okay, so I'm not going to do that Seaside Cove in there. Let's just do something really quick. Let's just go with this right here. And I'm going to do, I think, this right here. Let me see. Let me get my bearings right here. Or I'll have it coming from behind that rock, I think. So let me close it off like this. And we'll do that right there. Okay, let me block off that moon a little bit. If anyone's interested, I'm teaching that. It's called Intricate Masking. That class coming up. I'm just joking. You know, it's just a piece. You know, it's a piece of paper. You know, piece of paper and a paper towel. That's my idea of masking for the most part. When I used to mask things off and just, you know, using a torn paper towel or something like that, I remember some people were just so relieved, at the thought of that, because they're used to doing very careful masks and stamping something out on a Post-it note or something like that and cutting it out carefully, because you have to do that with, a lot of outline styles of designs, but I always tell people when you're using kind of more tonal designs, where you want everything to overlap anyway, we don't have to mask. We under-mask things usually, with Stampscapes at least, because like I said, I don't have a lot of like outline styles of designs. Okay, so we'll have that right in here. We'll have some kind of, some lighting coming across the water like this. I'm going to do that when I finish these pieces off a little bit more, but let me just get a little bit of it. I'll give you a hint of kind of what I'll kind of be attempting here. So I'll put a little bit of this lighting going across here, and we'll try to create some kind of universal lighting scheme in here. I don't know why that paper looks like light right in here. for some reason. And that just happens to be right above these cabins right here with the windows on there. I guess that's on the paper too, I guess. It's these little streaks of white like that, I guess. You know, in a couple of these areas here. And this is pattern on this paper too. See these like vertical striations on this aged paper? So it kind of looks like light coming down. Light and shadow on here. So I don't know, that'll be like a expedite the entire process there. But see here, if I put that down here too, I can leave room up here if I want to stamp out some kind of like quote stamp, or it might be best to stamp it on a separate piece of paper and then you mount it and put it up here in the corner or something like that too. I can do an overhang too if I want to. Sometimes when you have something kind of bottomlet like that, if you have like an overhanging tree branch up here or something like that, that would look really good too. Just to close it off, it would kind of, you know, when you put something up here too, like just like a stronger vignette, it makes the light sort of seem a little bit lighter too. All right, so anyways, we have the 3 pieces right here. I'm gonna wait till these dry a little bit, and then when I finish these off, I'll stamp out my moon pattern on top of those. I don't want to stamp like wet into wet right now, or it's kind of damp still. It's not wet, but it feels kind of tacky to me. Like I'm getting a little bit of that brilliance white coming off of my coming off of the surface like that. This one right here, I don't know. I might put word stamps in all of these. I really like that type of thing in there. It's even, so that's what I did on a lot of these. It was just kind of the upper left or right hand corner like that moonlight one right there. Moonlight is sculpture, silence like that. This one right here, it would look kind of weird to be stamped in that white, but since I have that white in here, I might need to add a little bit more, like a little bit of mist or something like that, in that same tone of white in there to just kind of integrate it a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't notice these before, these really heavy vertical striations like that. But since it's reflecting something like that down into the water, I think it looks pretty good like that. But this one's really minimal. A little bit of stars up here and that little bit of lighting like that. But I really like the looks of these right here, these longer pieces here. And I think it sets up a pretty good opportunity to have these longer pieces. Now, I don't know if I would always go with half pages like this. Sometimes I'd like it a little bit more narrow. But like we can put something like her on one of these larger pieces, and it affords us kind of more background imagery by using just a longer piece. Like she can be up here in this, right-hand corner. I would have her looking across like this way at something, like even if it was just a far shoreline like that, I think that would be pretty cool. So, yeah. A little bit more kind of compositional opportunities with the larger pieces like that, or just longer ones too. Let's see here. Seal candy. Yeah, candy, do you seal? You got to seal the chalks down, right? Yeah, Candy's there. If you, oh wait, well, Candy's using the chalk pigmentings though, not the chalks as in like dry chalks or palette chalks. I haven't. The chalk pads are just, the chalk pads are all clear snap, right? I never quite knew the difference between the chalk and just the color box, clear snap color box pads. I guess they were chalkier, right? They have a little bit of a flatter type of profile when they dry, I'm taking it. Chalk was permanent. I gave all my color box chalk and reinkers to my daughter. Ah, you gave them away, huh? She's got like a collector's items there with clear snap being gone, unless some other company has some other type of chalk pad. You don't miss the snow, huh? Jennifer. Oh, so Patty, if it's become hot and humid like now, then the summers must be, I don't know, whatever. I don't know if it's exponentially worse, but a lot worse. Smithtown, New York. Where is Smithtown? Is that like an upstate or something like that? I had a really good trip to workshop trip from um, across upstate New York. We flew into, where did I fly into? Uh, oh my God, I can't think of it. It starts with an A, one of the larger cities in upstate New York. And then I went across, I think I almost got to Syracuse, but I stopped in Rome and stuff like that. And saw the Baseball Hall of Fame, stuff like the Cooperstown while making that trip. I was having moon anxiety. Yeah, but see that little tone down there. It looks weird like that, but when you add in kind of the highlighting and all that, like in your pieces, um, it starts to incorporate all that in there like that. Okay, I'm not going to finish all these pieces off right now, but I'll add in a couple of little things like right now because I want to see it too. But I'll finish these off in other pieces. But see this one right here? Let's go. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. I might want to do an experiment on this one. So, like, I'll transition some yellow or something like that down this way. Like I said, I don't have a lot of um, pigment inks. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. Okay, so I have some of the hybrid inks pads, the Moonlight Duos in here, and that might look really good in here. But if I transition all that color in here, then I would bring some of that color onto the other surrounding area. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, but this like right here is just a white pastel pencil. Now this I found gives me some really good general lighting in here, but it's a really super soft lighting, okay? And I don't like that all soft in here. It makes all the imagery look really soft, which I like too, but I like it crisp too, okay? So what you do is you add down kind of a little bit of a soft general application of lighting onto your objects, and then maybe you want to spray seal it off or something like that, and then hit it with some kind of more sharp, you know, highlights on there. You don't have to do a ton of it though, just a few little crisp little highlighted areas within, like this, say this rock right here, it'd be like a couple dots of ink on the top of it or something of that sort. Okay. But see, like some of this, I was adding a little bit too much the other day. So thinking about these chalks or this pastel pencils, you can just kind of dab it off. You can see it on my finger right there. Actually, that's the white pigment ink right there. But some of this chalk is pastel is coming off right here. So see this right here? So don't have too much moon anxiety. Because see, what you do is you integrate that lighting in with your surrounding area. You're having your objects influenced by that lighting, so it's a little bit more integrated that way. Okay. So on the side of these trees facing that moonlight, they're now being illuminated a little bit by that moonlight like that. You can see it's starting to kind of influence my, surrounding area. Like that. It's catching the moonlight like that. Here's a tree right here. It's the same color as the background right there. But if you just kind of want to tweak it a little bit and make it a little bit lighter, you can add it on there. Fun thing about working this way too, if you're kind of practicing lighting or something like that, if you do it on this type of paper and you're using like a pastel pencil, like I said, you can just wipe it right off, or you can take an eraser and wipe it off completely. I can test out moonlight on this water like this, and you can add it down. If you're kind of not really paying attention to how much you're adding, again, just wipe it off. And or if you don't like how it looks, it needs a tweak, you can erase it and then just add it back again and just, play around with it accordingly and just get kind of the texture that you want, or you can kind of learn your technique while doing it. I'm kind of learning my technique here too, I don't have this like down completely. Like the other day I was using some of this pencil and I thought, oh, it looks funny. It's like, oh, it's because it's too soft. So I tried the pen over the top of it, and it's like, okay, that's just what it needed. Or if you can't get in here into these windows with, the pen like this, it's like a little bit too detailed, then just do it a little bit with the, some of your pastel pencil, and then hit it with a little bit maybe of the crisper, white gel pen, or, acrylic paint pen, if you, whatever you have, if you have a white paint pen or white pen of some sort. I think everyone should have a white pen of some sort. It's kind of like a staple with, I don't know, just stamping, scenic stamping. That's the thing that a lot of people ask me about. Like if I post something and it has some stars up there. A lot of people, there's not a lot of scenic stampers out there, so just in terms of the stamping crowd. But oftentimes people want to know, what white pen did you use on there? And I always tell them it's the acrylic paint pens these days. The 0.7 millimeter. So you can just kind of highlight a little bit of this dock right here, where it's a little bit illuminated right there, but maybe it's shaded on that side. But see, so now we have it, this white light kind of reflecting off, all of the different objects in here. I mean, you didn't have to go too much more. I mean, I think it looked fine without it too. And my big thing is I tend to go a little bit overboard with this highlighting in here, but I just adjust it accordingly. But yeah, I often go, I do too much because it's kind of fun, to watch. It's like embossing. Everyone likes seeing that embossing powder change, but you add these little elements like this into a scene, and it just alters the spirit of it. So you can see some of that highlighting like that, and here, like I said, it's really fun down here in this extra texturing. So that's just the beginning of it. You just add some of it down here. Now look at that, kind of that highlighting kind of meander about down here. This will need to be spray sealed, because it is pastels on here. But see that, the little path of light coming down there like that. And I mean, this is just the highlighting. The shading is really kind of influential too. But that little type of stuff, it's really fun to play around with, and it's really good. It's a good exercise, again, for light and shade. It's seeing light and shade better, too, when you practice something like that. And I need the practice, too, with these different types of things, especially when I'm playing around with different media. I have to see how it's going to translate into kind of, the types of things that I like to see in scenes, but I don't know exactly how it's going to look, though, oftentimes. Although I've been doing this, but it's still, a lot of it is new. Okay, so that is in upstate New York, in the that city, Jennifer. It sure was nice, and I don't know when I went there. I don't know if it was the summer. It wasn't the summertime. Because I was driving around in these areas and it just wasn't that crowded anywhere. And those Adirondack Museum and stuff like that. I probably went in, I don't know when I went there. Maybe it was like post summer or something like that, September or something like that, I'm guessing. Um, but I sure enjoy that area up there and driving around all over. You love to take scenic pictures. It's peaceful to you. Yeah. So scenic stamping is fun. When I start doing these types of things, I start getting, I don't know, transported into those scenes, I think, on some kind of level. I always tell that to people, when we're doing these things. It's a little bit of, like a little bit of a mini vacation in some ways. I find it very kind of emotionally or subconsciously transportive like that. And I think too, when people look at things too, and I don't know, it's like one extra little layer over just crafting. Crafting anything when we're making stuff by hand, if we're having a really great time and we're really into it, it's you lose track of time. But then scenic stamping thing, it can be a little bit transportive too, I think. Jelly Roll White 10, rarely. I love those Jelly Roll pens. I was doing some testing with my gel pens at some point in time. I think I made a video of it. And those Jelly Roll pens, I hadn't used in 20 years or something like that. In fact, I barely used them when I got them. Absolutely smooth and even ink flow. What is it? I don't know if those are gel pens or what, but whatever formula they used on those things, they really need to use those on like all pens of those sorts. I don't think that the Jelly Rolls didn't have like a gigantic color selection either, did they? In fact, I don't know where my pens went to. They're somewhere. Oh, yeah. Here. I had the fluorescent one right here. I mean, you can tell how old this is right here. Or can I don't know. It's this plastic is absolutely like yellowed here. You can tell right here. See how yellow that is? Now watch me. Watch me try this and it didn't work at all. It's probably been 5 years since I played around with it. Okay, let me see. It's coming. Okay, I need to tweak it a little bit more, but I can see right here, there's not a gigantic separation between the pigment and binder, which is, I'm guessing is water or something like that. All right, so I bet you I can get this engaged though. Just the fact that it flowed right out of the gate, with whatever ink was on there. But yeah, that's this one's Sakura right here. I used to use their white paint pen. But yeah, super old set. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like 30 years old. Absolutely yellowed, though, that plastic blister pack. Like that. But anyways, let's see. Those papers were perfect for the moonlight. They're fun things too. Yeah, like I said, when you get all that done, the thing that takes a while to do is if we're starting off with a white piece of paper in scenic stamping is just filling in that background in there. Now these have a certain type of look to them. They're not going to be as malleable as a white piece of paper that we can make it any kind of color scheme that we want. But as far as like visual interest, and having that kind of texturing up there, I would never get that texturing, if I did these, the backgrounds myself, I don't think. And definitely not the wood grain, of course. But I don't know, they make it for some really fun, just compositional builds. Look at this one right here. This one has the texturing down here, the Seaside Cove, and this one's just absolutely calm. There's a little bit of a different spirit to a little bit of a textured watered surface, where it's rippled. and ones that are calm like that and just absolutely flat and smooth. I like them both. This one gives me a little bit more opportunity to do, like I said, that highlighting in there, which I'll do with like my white pen. I put little, like sparkles on the crest of the waves and things like that. Which I can do a little bit in here, but it's usually just a few little highlights, like in the interior of the overall reflection, I think. Otherwise, it looks like it's just too busy, adding in like too many highlights in this area because it's just like so smooth and just calm like that. I don't want to make it look like a bunch of like illuminated like ants in there, you know. And I do that too. I go, like I said, I go overboard with that type of thing. So, let's see. He was shocked about light was there, but my nephew has 100% and said it was spectacular. What was that now, Patty? %90 coverage with, was that referring to something else there? And she moved to Austin. Okay. I never got to Austin. San Antonio, Dallas, numerous times. I think I taught at Stamp Antonio once. All those stamp store names like that. And I think I got to 3 different areas of Texas, but never Austin. I think Austin was close to San Antonio when I was there. I can't remember. You took your tin of old Marvy markers with me, but then Kevin went live. Make it like Jaws. Oh, yeah. That opening scene on Jaws is something, isn't it? It makes on the paddleboard gets eaten. So we do a little bit of a fin right here, huh? Or no, the fin would be coming up. You'd have it coming up like right here, I think, where they're not kind of looking at it. They're distracted, So instead of being distracted in a car from like a cell phone or something like that, or a text, you're distracted with the whatever the sunset or something like that on there. All right, so anyways, I'll play around with these and I'm gonna test out some texturing on them too. Like I said, this one was like absolutely plastered with that white pigment ink right there, but I'm kind of toying around with the idea, like I said again, of having that as a sun. I think it's going to be important to keep some of the retention of that white in there, but if I just do a little bit of transition of yellow right up top there, like that, and then we'll leave this white down below, then it will allow me to go in and do this highlighting with my pastel pencil, which I don't have a bunch of different colors of. I don't know if they make... I think they do make a bunch. I think I did see a pack of these. I think they were really expensive though. But this white pencil in here, I can just put some of these in it. I wasn't using this pastel pencil until fairly recently. I found it in my supplies of my art supplies from college, which I probably didn't use them very much because they were, I had like 2 full ones or something like that. I didn't have one like to a stub or anything like that. But these have been fun to utilize on these types of papers. I'd really recommend it. It's Carbothello by Stabilo. I don't know whatever you call it, but it's Schwann Stabilo. It's in my Amazon store with I think it's media or something like that. I forgot what I called it, that category, but that's in there. But you could, I don't know, if you can find it somewhere else, then you might be able to find it at a better price, like Dick Blick. But then, if you have Amazon Prime, it's free shipping, so you always have to factor that in there. But if you're playing around with these types of papers, and if you like the look of going for these really fast scenes like that, something like this is, it's a pretty fun addition to that if you want a little bit of extra, I don't know, whatever, effects in there, especially lighting like that. Like I really like this lighting in here. It was like, you know what I mean? It was really, you know, it looked like this before, which I think looks cool, but you can see that extra bit of, you know, value, contrast in there. And then if you're going to put that contrast in there, then I think it's good to put, you know, some of those little types of effects in there with a similar light, which is white, you know. So, you know, this pencil will last a really long time too. You can probably get like 50 scenes out of it or something like that, you know. I don't know, maybe more. And like this paper right here, like this one, it's like, whatever it is, a 50 pack of like 11 by 17. So, you know, you can be in 50 times whatever, 8 pieces for quarter size scenes. You don't need a lot of media. You don't have to have all kinds of colored inks or something like that too. All right, good night, everyone. Let's see. I've been looking at the pastel pencils. I'm interested, especially on this type of paper. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool too. If you know what I mean, some of those pencils too, like Conte crayons. Conte crayons came with that reddish brown one, black and white. But if there was like some kind of set like this that had like this black and some sort of warm tone or something like that, that would be really good too. I don't know how, I don't think I would use like a lot of like a full spectrum of colors. I don't think, I don't know. I do use the colored pencils, but they're a little bit more detailed. But I don't know. I mean, you could use your pastel pencils in conjunction with your pan pastels, because you can use these, a full set of these types of things, or pastel pencils. Doesn't have to be this brand, but you can use the pastel pencils to get, you know, kind of more detailed types of marks on your page, you know, than, you know, pan pastels can probably provide, you know, where you're putting on kind of a wider application of it. So anyway, yeah. All right, I can't wait to check these out and finish these pieces off, and to format them into cards, you know. I want to do more text in my scenes too, you know, sometimes, you know, where they have something like it's like a magazine layout or something like that. So I need to leave a little bit more spaces for more word stamps, you know, like up here you can say something, and down here there might be a different thing, and down here it says something else, more like an advertisement layout or something like that. I think we can do some really graphic types of things. And if it's on this type of paper again, I think it'd be really fun. The gold ones, I really like the gold impressions on here. I think I gave away my scenes, but like especially if you format these in that gold foil in the inside of these, look really good to stamp out word stamps in the gold ink on there. I think that's a really fun look, and I really like that. You've bought so many different things since I've been watching you. Well, I hope you've been enjoying them, Bonnie. I don't have a lot of different things, you know. I just use them over and over in my pieces. Anyway, thanks, Janice. Hello and thanks, and good night. Let's see. But yeah, I do like the things that I'm using on these pieces. So we try to keep it simple. Now, some of them are using a bunch of different things, but it's, you know, it's the same thing. I'm just using them in conjunction with one another. So keep that in mind. I don't like to get a ton of different things that are just for like one type of application, because, you know, I don't know, I have a lot of stuff already. I'm getting into those glitters though. So I posted that moon video, and I'm going to use some of those luminous powders and things like that. But those are more of like a specialty thing. But we'll see how those come out. All right. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Hope you have a great weekend. Drop me a note with any questions, or Can't wait to see your pieces and see what you do with the stamps and or techniques.